It's that time of year again where the bullshit starts rolling, and Gary Tomlinson hopes he can baffle people with that bullshit. And the flyer that he keeps putting out everywhere is the flyer that says that they've paid out 621,000 in the last 4 years, and they're in the 12th year, and it's a great chance to come on board, and all of this stuff, and that total transparency is guaranteed. But now desperation's setting in to where he's starting to have a go at other one-off races again, and having a go specifically at races that rely on an activation system where you pay for one and then you can have the chance to activate yours when they get to another point of the program. Maybe he hopes it'll dissuade people from entering them and enter his race to make the numbers up. Maybe that's one of the reasons he's doing it. But the harsh reality is all of the races that happen, a lot of them overseas, have to get a certain amount of pigeons to the qualifying race to even be able to cover costs and pay out prize money. Whereas really what he's really saying is, no, it's far easier for me to take your money up front from you, and then it doesn't matter how bad a job I do. And statistically, in Who Dares Wins, the most losses occur after Hotspot 1. But it doesn't matter because the money's in the bank. These other races that do the activation races also, like I say, have to get a certain amount of birds to these races that operate on an activation system have to get a certain amount of money in, and therefore get a certain amount of birds to the activation race. So if Pattaya, who pay out $2.1 million, they have got to get thousands of birds to that activation race to even cover the costs of prize money, let alone the costs of running it. So really, the activation system is a lot fairer to people, and not a lot of people do it in the UK, and that's fine. Some people have started introducing it. But really, having a go at activation races that, oh yeah, your birds just happen to disappear after you've paid your activation money, well, actually, the birds disappear from his race, statistically most after Hotspot 1, and he's already got the money in the bank, so he doesn't particularly care. Last year was a particularly bad year. The harsh reality is he's getting desperate. This is the only one-off race that I know of where you pay your money, you enter your pigeon, and you've still got no idea of how much prize money you're competing for. Last year, £40,000 prize money for first place was guaranteed. This year, no mention of any prize money has been given. It's just this 621,000 over 4 years figure keeps bandied around. Does anybody know how much prize money there is? Based on, if we get this amount of birds, it's this prize money. If we get this amount of birds, it's this prize money. Like most one-off races say, if we get a certain amount of birds, this will be the prize money. To my knowledge, that's not been said, let alone first prize money or anything. Then you come on to how many pigeons are in the loft. Somebody asked, apparently, how many pigeons are in the loft, and the response was, we don't close for another couple of weeks yet, so we've still got time to get more pigeons in. Maybe that's because he doesn't want people to know how few pigeons are in the loft, because then people will start thinking, well, actually, how much prize money is there going to be? It's a guessing game. And this is total transparency guaranteed. Now, if you compete in one-off races like we do, you put your pigeons in, you send your pigeons, and the day they come, you see them online. We can see our pigeons in the loft. We can see how many pigeons are in the loft, who's entered pigeons, and everything is completely transparent the day they enter the race. With Tomlinson's race, you don't know how many birds are in, how many fancies are competing until it closes. And therefore, you don't know how many birds are in, how much money's in the pot, and you've got no real idea of knowing how much money you're racing for. I don't know how he gets away with it. I don't know how he gets away with taking people's money and giving no indication of how much prize money there is in the pot. And all of these things are the reason that some races sell out in 3 days flat. You can't get into certain races after 3 days of it opening. And this is the reason that he's resorted to dissing other one-off races that act differently with the fancier at heart, because he's struggling. He had a bad year last year. He's desperate to try and make better, but the reality is he's not prepared to guarantee anything or say any prize money at all, because he doesn't know how many birds he's going to get in. And yet people are entering their birds and not knowing how much there is in the pot, if there's a certain amount of birds in. And it's pretty low to start dissing other one-off races that do the activation racing, which is ultimately a fairer way of doing it. Remember, this is a man who lost 700 or 800 pigeons from 29 miles. This 621,000 he keeps advertising over 4 years. There's a few issues there. The one issue is, if that was the case, then he goes over the threshold of VAT at 8% and goes to 20%. As some other one-off races have now found out, that needs to be organised in a different way. The big thing, though, with that figure is that includes all prize money paid out. So he's that desperate to make his race look good and big and impressive that he's including pool money that people have put in, that he takes 10% of, into that figure. Some would say it's good marketing, others would say it's just plain bullshit. That's up to you. This is a man that's publicly stated a few years ago that 80 birds had to be called because of sickness, and then 6 months later in another video said that it was 280. And the owners were not informed of this or given a chance to replace their birds. Remember, he makes a big thing about this FCI thing, registration. He's the only man on one-off race to ever have resigned from the FCI, only to come back a few years later. That particular year that he was registered with the FCI, a syndicate competitor of his race were overseeing the race marking with no official RPRA present. Remember, just last year, this is a man who shouted and swore at a competitor in the final of his race, who'd spent over £16,000 with him in 5 years, all in front of his 2 young children and wife, while at the final. This is a man that sacked off his Irish agent because he didn't like him being involved in other one-off races overseas. So, total transparency guaranteed? Really? I don't think so. I don't think the man knows what transparency looks like, because if he did, you'd be able to see your birds enter into the loft, you'd be able to see them on the system and know how many birds are in the loft. And you'd also know how much money you're potentially racing for, and a whole bunch of other things. So think on, folks. Make your choices wisely. There are many great one-off races out there, many in the UK too. And in my opinion, Who Dares Wins and Gary Tomlinson is not one of them. My guess is there'll be probably no more than 1,250 entries this year in the race, which means people will probably be lucky to be competing for a prize pot of £80,000, if that.